In Georgia, the state election board is considering major changes today, less than 1 month before early voting starts there in the state. There are 11 proposals brought by state Republicans, including hand-counting ballots and introducing something called absentee ballot tracking. Critics say the changes will cause chaos in the presidential election. And speaking of Election Day, this morning, early in-person voting begins in Virginia, South Dakota, and Minnesota. It comes as both campaigns spent the last several weeks touring battleground states. So we are getting underway in this election. For more on this, I want to bring in Joel Payne and Leslie Sanchez. Joel, as you should all know by now, is a CBS News political contributor, Democratic strategist, and the chief communications officer for Move On. And Leslie is a CBS News political analyst and a Republican strategist. Welcome to you both. Leslie, let's begin with you. I don't know where I'm looking. Georgia is considered a key battleground state for both campaigns this cycle. But from right now, which candidate has the most to gain in these changes that we've just mentioned that the state is making to its election process?
It's really hard to say, Errol. It could fall either way. I mean, I think fundamentally you're going to hear arguments on both sides that it is an extreme disruption to what they understand. And I think for the losing side, you'll hear calls of election integrity. The bottom line is there is a lot of effort in trying to ensure the accuracy of every voter. And Republicans have been running on that on a federal level. You've heard about it nationally. And it really, in states like Georgia, states that should fundamentally be leaning red, and there was a lot of discrepancy, and we know that from 2020, you're going to hear a lot of calls, I think, from Republicans to question these methods, but they want to ensure that Trump has the best advantages going forward.
Right. So, Joel, if you listen to Leslie, right. Well, so Leslie's saying that it's not unclear which side this may benefit. These proposed changes, do you think they could impact Georgia and its role in this race? Because it is seen now as a toss-up.
Well, Errol, it might surprise you, but I disagree a bit with Leslie.
Right.
I think these changes obviously help Republicans. And look, this is a part of the Republican project in the last few cycles, not being able to build a majority coalition in a number of key battleground states and across the country, via national winning electoral coalition, because Donald Trump and his group of voters are a minoritarian coalition. You have to do things like this to win. And that's what Republicans have decided to do. They've decided to make it harder to vote. It is undeniable that Republicans believe it should be harder to vote. And by the way, that is a position that I think is clear. And I think if you believe that, you should just say it. But it's very obvious to anybody with an unbiased eye that Republicans think it should be harder to vote. And they think it particularly should be harder to vote in a place like Georgia that's going to be so, important and so influential to what happens in the election this cycle.
I mean,
Earl,
go ahead.
Respectfully disagree with my good colleague. I don't think anybody's going to look at this and say, we want to make it harder to vote for legal voters who deserve the right to vote. They want to show identification. They want to ensure that they're actually on the rolls, that they went through a process to get registered. Those are all very fair things I think Republican, Democrat, Independent fundamentally agree on, and that there's nothing skirting the ability to accurately count that.
Well, Leslie, let me just jump in to ask you about North Carolina then, right? We've discussed Georgia. All these swing states matter. Trump's headed to North Carolina this weekend. He won it in 2016 and 2020. But now you have this controversy surrounding their nominee for governor, Mark Robinson, and these absolutely incendiary comments he is alleged to have made. What do you expect to hear from the Trump campaign as it relates to Robinson? Because up until now, Trump has wrapped his arms around the guy.
I didn't necessarily agree with that at all. I mean, there was an event in August, and he acknowledged him like in the crowd, but didn't invite him on stage. He made a point of inviting the sheriffs, and the lieutenant governor kind of like went up the stage with them, but he was not part of the campaign apparatus. I think the Trump campaign has known for a while this is going to be a problem. And Trump is, several points, double-digit points in favorability, leading in North Carolina above the Republican nominee. It's a problem for him. It is a problem for Republicans, but Republicans have distanced themselves and are waiting to see where the fallout's going to be. And each candidate that's in a competitive race, including the president, is fundamentally focused on their own race. I did talk to party leaders this morning. They said there's a long history of ticket splitting in North Carolina. They do expect when the margins are this close for it to make some impact on demoralizing some voters to come out and vote. But I think the Trump campaign is very strong and looking forward and excited about tomorrow.
Okay, Leslie taking some heat on that question. Joel, I want you to take some heat as well, because when it comes to Harris in Pennsylvania, new polling there shows voters favor Harris 4 points ahead of Trump in the state, but polling also showed that folks felt like she won the presidential debate. This is still within the margin of error. She is not gaining the endorsement of groups that would have otherwise perhaps jumped for Democrats. And this also key for Democrats to win. So what are the challenges that the Harris campaign is facing in your view? Why isn't she much further ahead if there's so much support?
No Democrat, especially any Democrat working in Harris High Command, should look at any poll and draw any conclusions right now. Whether she's 4 points up or 4 points down, it's a close race. No one's going to win or lose Pennsylvania by more or less than 2 points this cycle, very likely. So that is my general opinion about that. She's working the state hard. I was actually there with her for an event with NABJ in Pennsylvania this week and thought she really showed well and did a lot of work to continue to build relationships in the African-American community. But Errol, I have to go back to just your previous conversation about Mark Robinson. We cannot allow Republicans to disown Mark Robinson. He's the sitting lieutenant governor, a Republican. He is endorsed by Donald Trump. He's boosted by Donald Trump, funded, supported. They have built his entire political career. And the revelations of the last 24 hours, yes, they are shocking, but not surprising, because Mark Robinson has been a disaster this entire time. Every single time Republicans have gotten behind Mark Robinson this cycle, they've known that this is an unstable person, this is an irresponsible person, and this is someone who does not deserve to be the governor of the state. And they're going to pay a political price for it because he is going to drag down their ticket. Donald Trump can still win, but he's going to have to win with a lot of down drag on his ticket because of a terrible candidate like Mark Robinson.
All right, we knew you guys wouldn't agree on everything, but Joel Payne and Leslie Sanchez, can you at least agree to enjoy the weekend?
Yes,
I think so.
Leslie's my friend. We're going to have a great weekend.
It's great chatting with you both. Thank you so much for your time.